invest in daughters, sisters, and wives. They're gonna change our lives. In women, in girls. They'll make a better world. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. And now here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Welcome to the Invest in Her podcast series, where we always are featuring fabulous female founders and funders. And today we have on two distinguished guests. We have artist Molly Larkey, who is the founder of the People's Pottery Project. And we have on my co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, Kat Curry-Williams. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Have you both on today. Now, of course, the reason we're having both of you on today is very exciting because Molly's People's Pottery Project is the first grant that the She Angels Foundation has given. And we are super excited about that.
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah. And Kat, do you want to talk a little bit about, why we selected People's Pottery Project? And then we want to find out about, how Molly's journey took her to this place.
Well, People's Pottery Project is exactly up the alley of She Angels Foundation's mission to support women-founded nonprofits who are helping women, and in this case, women that don't identify as women, trans, non-binary, which we love because it really opened our eyes to, we need to see that that's the bigger word and the bigger picture. And we're interested in learning new things every day in that. And Molly had this brilliant idea to start this project, and she'll get to talk about that, but she teaches women, formerly incarcerated women, she'll go into that further, to
and those identifying as women,
and those the thing that I was saying. And so to do exactly what we wanted to help her with resources, mentoring, and funding to help her move her mission forward. And these women will thrive through her knowledge and through the gift of our grant. So Molly, I think you should chime in and go from there.
We definitely want to hear about, I know I read a little bit about your background, about how you wanted to be a writer, but then you ended up being a visual artist. And I'd like to know how you founded that journey. I understand you studied in New York, but ended up here in LA. And, how did you come to realize that instead of a writer, you wanted to be a visual artist? And then how did that take you to finding this People's Pottery Project, which helps formerly incarcerated women and those identifying as women to get back on their feet by learning the trade of pottery making, and that you also employ them, which is just phenomenal. So let's talk about how this came to be.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the wonderful grant. We're so excited. We're very new as well, and it's very helpful and encouraging. And these days, I kind of wear all three hats. Our identity is as an artist, a writer, and I use the word organizer, activist, any of those things, and they're all related to me. And just to speak briefly to what you said about starting off as a writer, I was a very bookish kid, and I read a lot, and it felt very natural for me to want to be a writer from there. And actually, when I was living abroad in college, I was living in Spain, and I found myself living with artists, actually. And I hadn't really thought that I could be an artist because I didn't know how to draw, or I thought I didn't know how to draw. And I met these visual artists in Spain, speaking a different language, and I had this real revelation that it persists to this day, of art being a way of understanding that the world it does speak. It was almost, I think now I could probably say it's something that maybe comes also through spiritual practices. For whatever reason, it came to me through art, where I felt like I wanted to engage with the material of the physical world and not entirely with just words. And it really changed my life. You know, it really changed my life. And I dedicated myself to being an artist. And you know, I also loved making art because the way that I saw it, it was sculpture, but it really encompassed anything. So anything I wanted to learn or anything that was interesting to me, it was like a license to, sometimes I used to think it was a license to be a dilettante, you know, like I'd just be curious about something and then I'd learn about it, you know, but it really was a way of understanding like how the physical and visual world speaks, and but mostly like I was doing sculpture and still, you know, I do sculpture. And so it's really through the physicality and making things, making objects. Fast forward, I was in New York for a long time. I'm from LA. I moved back about a decade ago, and about 6 years ago or 5 years ago, I can't remember exactly, I was invited to I was invited to donate a work to an art auction, and I had been wanting to be more involved in what I call abolition community, anti-carceral work. You know, my whole life I've had this awareness of prisons as just like this, just like the most terrible thing that I could imagine in a certain sense, because of the ways that people hold power over you, people who aren't and very nice, you know, like people you know, forcing their will on you and not being able to do anything about it, you know, and also your freedom curtailed. And honestly, I was afraid of even dealing with that. I would sometimes, like when I was meditating, I would kind of find myself thinking about people in prison. So I was invited to donate a work, and I said, well, I kind of want to get involved in this. And they said, well, help us organize this art auction. And I was like, great, you know, I could do that. Like, you know, like I'm very invested in the art community. I write about art. I've shown art in my home. And so I did that, and then I did that again. I organized another art auction. The first one was for Californians United for Responsible Budget, an amazing organization that is a coalition that where actually, and this plays into what I'm doing now, is the first time that I heard the slogan "Care, Not Cages," which is one of the slogans of Californians United for Responsible Budget. What that organization does is engages in the California state politics to prevent new prisons from being built, because once they're built, then you need to fill them with people. It's a business, a for-profit business, and instead invest in communities, in education and job training and healthcare and mental health care and all of the things that help people not be in a position where they're going to be incarcerated. I'll just say briefly that after I did that, worked on that art auction, we did another art auction for another group I'm involved with, which is called California Coalition for Women Prisoners. So I think that from there, you know, one of the reasons why that was so powerful and empowering for me is that it was using the resources that I had as an artist and as someone who's connected to a very broad art community in New York, in Los Angeles, and using those resources to bring greater attention to the issue of incarceration, which is continuing to come out and grow, like the way that that information about what's going on with people inside prison and jails is very deliberately hidden from public eye. Prisons are in remote locations so that you can't, like, you know, just see what's happening, and it's very hard even if you're, you know, the mother or daughter of someone who's incarcerated, it's very, very hard to get information about what's actually happening, even with your own loved ones. And so I also saw that my community of artists could be maybe helpful in using like the cultural capital that we have access to kind of bring greater attention to what is happening and what people's stories are, and and break down the real falsehood around who's incarcerated and why, and I'm involved, the organizations that I just mentioned are involved with changing a lot of the laws that have put a lot of women in prison, like felony murder rule, which there's a lot of different laws, but basically if any person has any knowledge or involvement in something that ends up leading to a felony, then that person goes to prison for the whole crime, even if they knew nothing about it or didn't participate in the felony, or in the murder rather. So there's a lot of people who are in prison, who really shouldn't be there on that level. And then there's other people, like one of the women who organizes with us, who was in for life without the possibility of parole. Our groups are involved in a campaign to overturn that as a sentence. It's a living death sentence, and it's death by incarceration. And she was a battered woman. And,
What's the name of her organization?
So she's involved in a lot of different organizations, but this campaign is called Drop LWOP. LWOP stands for Life Without the Possibility of Parole. And there's a coalition of organizations that are really working to bring greater attention to that as a sentence, because if you have LWOP, there's no way you even have the possibility of going before the parole board. So you could be in prison Susan was in prison for over 30 years, and luckily, happily, through a lot of these organizations' work that I've been talking about, there have been great campaigns to get people's sentences commuted. So Governor Brown, when he was before he left office, commuted a bunch of people's sentences, and that's how she was released. And now she's part of People's Pottery Project.
That's what I was just going to say. And she's one of the women that are benefiting from your Pottery Project, right, which teaches these women the craft of pottery. You sell it on the website, peoplespotteryproject.com, and it helps them to thrive, and you also employ them. So it's an incredible program, and it couldn't be more timely. Like, finally, people do seem to be talking about the injustices of what's going on in prison. I mean, like, let me just say, even like the guy that was on America's Got Talent recently, who was incarcerated for, I think it was 37 years, and he didn't even do the crime. He was totally innocent. Archie, everybody knows Archie now. And I'm so glad that you're doing this, and that there's more things bringing it to the surface for everyday people to, be more educated about really how unjust it is to certain populations, especially. Just what we can do about it. And one of them is supporting programs like the one you guys just mentioned, and of course your People's Pottery Project, which is why we wanted to get behind that. We think the work you're doing is amazing to help these women get back on their feet. Over and above doing a check, we like to also do resources and whatnot. So we're so excited to share that Kat's sister is going to be donating another kiln to the project, right, Kat?
Yes, that is true, and various
cocktails. Yeah, that was really fantastic, because so I'll talk a little bit more about, I wanted to give the background because it is really important, because like everything that I think really, and the same with your organization, there's no way I didn't come up with this alone. It's been a real learning process as I've, gotten to participate in these organizations. And I think one of the things that I learned when I started looking for ways to be more involved in this movement, really, this abolition movement of Care Not Cages, was that there were already a lot of existing organizations that had done the work, and they were founded for the most part by people of color, women of color, who are, as Catherine kind of alluded to, the most impacted by policing and incarceration. And so I really feel like I got to be quiet for a long time and listen and learn about, what was really needed, for people who are incarcerated. And then through that work, I was organizing alongside in California Coalition for Women Prisoners. It's a coalition of women inside and outside and formerly incarcerated. So I started to, learn from them and organize with them and take my cues from them. And it really just came together where I had some space. As part of my sculpture practice, I do some ceramics, not a lot. I'm not a ceramicist or an expert in ceramics. But I had the space and I had the kiln, and ceramics is it's, one of the oldest art forms. It's earth, it's based in the earth and forming the earth and fire and air and water. It's the four elements. And
it sounds like they're making it in the background today.
I'm at my studio, so sorry about that, but you get the local flavor.
That's right, local flavor.
And so we started gathering, and Alex Miller, who's a ceramicist and a friend, volunteered to teach the classes. So we just started by having classes once a week, and I quickly realized, that the people who first started coming through my network of organizers were struggling with homelessness, and were really there was no real, it evolved. There was no real way to for people to be able to prioritize this without there being, a chance to put money in their pockets. And so I immediately just said, if you come to class, then you will get paid, just very basic, $15 an hour just to come and make ceramics with us. And so that's been the model. That's been going on for about a year. And it was, and then the idea of developing a product, Hannah Grossman, who was working with me at the time, came up with that. And I've always loved these, slab bowls. Anyway, I won't go into all the details, but we've slowly developed this product that we sell on our website, and it's all been just kind of people volunteering their time to get this going. But now, I made a commitment to our current women who are working full time now for People's Pottery Project to provide a job for them, and just happily we're about to start opening up for classes again, so we can bring more people involved. So there's a variety of ways that people who are informally incarcerated can be involved, and we really see this model as being able to grow, and even when it was the very first day, and we didn't have money and we didn't have a product and we didn't have a business, just the fact that we could get together and, make something together. People who came, were just really, really happy to be able to do that. And, but the financial part's so important because people have so much trouble getting jobs,
And what we saw as She Angels, especially in the area of why we wanted to fund you so much, because as you talk about but inviting these participants to learn, you also invited them to teach. And then they get to grow fuller who they are. They realize that they are important, they are needed. It really goes to the foundation of, if you teach it, you learn and teach at the same time. And what we want to do as a community of women of all non-binary and trans, we want to be able to have this share what we know. And you did it perfectly through a group coming together, learning a skill, then teaching the skill to others, mentoring, you're mentoring, and they're getting to mentor. And they're amazing women because they have life. Life is in what they're sharing about and how they do it. And that was really important to us. And you started at the very beginning, and I love the word grassroots. And I think, it grows with a foundation, and, that's so important. And so in that way, you became a very clear trajectory to be able to fulfill everything in the grant's wishes that we were able to give to you this grant, that you fall right into the perfect place to help teach us how we can teach others too. And Catherine always says, invest in her, from her podcast, which is separate from She Angels Foundation, that just investing in your time, your energy. We're gathering as a foundation. We help with the resources to help you with what you can invest, moving it forward, and it's paying it forward. And it's just a full circle of how we can make the world a better place. But we start with a foundation of grassroots, one at a time, one idea at a time. And you inspire me and Catherine. I think
Me
we
too.
Well, I wanted,
Yeah.
can I say one thing real fast?
Yes.
I mean, the thing is, and this is real honest talk, is like, I've made a commitment to employ 2 people full-time and a 3rd person part-time. And, that's a big financial commitment. And so I encourage everybody who hears this to buy a bowl, because that is our business model. Like, we are writing grants, but, we're trying to function. We do have nonprofit status. And so there is no profit beyond, but we're really, we're really building our capacity. That's why the kiln you're donating is so important, because, we can really produce the bowls, and everyone who buys a bowl gets to participate too, which I think is, it really did come together in a really beautiful way, where, because one of my foundational principles is in abundance, you know what I mean? Instead of scarcity mindset. And to me, the more we share with the resources we have, the more resources there are, in a weird way. And so I feel like I really, see this growing, but it's gonna, I like the idea that it's gonna take a lot of people making a very small investment, as you said, invest in her, a small investment in buying a bowl or a set of bowls. From our very first email, a local, really great, fantastic artist, I won't say, but anyway, we got some really good orders at the beginning of just launching the business, and that was exciting.
That's
Well,
great.
we
We're definitely going to go on peoplespotteryproject.com and order some gifts for the holidays and upcoming birthdays and whatnot. Couldn't be going to a better cause. I know formerly incarcerated women, you have explained to us and want to explain to others that, they feel invisible. It's really hard for them to get back on their feet. And so it's wonderful programs like this that give them an opportunity. And it just goes to show, no matter what profession you're in, an artist or whatever, that you can find ways to help other people in this capacity. And I agree exactly with what you just said. Really, the more you utilize what you have to help others, the more you have.
Yes.
So it is the way that the universe works, isn't it?
Yeah, my experience.
And for the bowls, as far as the side of COVID, we're always looking to where we can now see where does it help. We're at home, we're eating a lot. Those bowls are perfect for yogurt and granola. They're perfect for pasta. They're perfect. I love them. They're the perfect size bowl. I hope Catherine will be able to put one up on the visual of this podcast, but they're not too big. They're not too little. They're pretty. They're artsy. And it makes, I'm a visual person that likes to enjoy seeing the bowl as I eat. It's just that brings me joy, and we need joy at this time. More of it is always good.
You can go to peoplespotteryproject.com and see the bowls and buy the bowls, which is awesome.
Yeah. They're actually really affordable for,
and it's a tax donation.
Yeah. So I definitely am leaning into sort of that everyone can benefit from the situation. It doesn't have to be hardship. You can support us and also have this beautiful work of art, basically. Yeah.
It's brilliant. I said it before and I'll say it again. I was just on a call to London, and I know that they use that word brilliant all the time. And I love it because
it is brilliant. Well, I just want to wrap up by saying that, investing in women helps make the world a better place. So we ask you, please, to invest in her. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Kat, for being on this week. Please follow People's Pottery Project on social media and go to their website and follow us at She Angels. Make it a great week. Thanks, ladies.
Our theme music was created and produced by Lindsay Tomasic.